He left me alone on our wedding night, and at midnight I discovered unexpected sounds. Before we dive into the Part 2 full story, tell us in the comments which country you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories. The early morning fog lay thick over the small town, curling around the rooftops like a silent whisper. Eleanor stood by the window, her hands wrapped around a cup of lukewarm tea, staring at the street below. The letter she had found the previous night was still clutched in her other hand, and its words echoed in her mind. "I'm coming back." Years had passed since she last saw him, the boy she had taken into her home, sheltered from the storm that was life. She remembered the night when rain had pelted the windows, and she had wrapped him in a blanket, whispering soothing words to calm his trembling. That night had changed her life in ways she could never have anticipated, and now, decades later, it seemed the story was not over. A soft knock at the door startled her, sending a shiver down her spine. Her heart raced as she set down the cup, the letter trembling slightly in her grasp. She took a deep breath and moved toward the door. When she opened it, there he stood. Taller now, shoulders broad, eyes weary but familiar. His hair had streaks of silver, and a shadow of stubble lined his jaw, but the essence of the boy she once protected remained. "Mom," his voice cracked, laden with the weight of years spent apart. She felt her throat tighten. "You came back," she whispered, stepping forward instinctively. Her hand reached for his, but he hesitated, unsure. I didn't know if you'd want to see me," he admitted, gaze dropping to the floor. Eleanor smiled softly, though tears pricked at her eyes. "It doesn't matter what I want. It's you who stood out in the storm all those years ago, alone and scared, and it's you who found your way back." They moved inside, the air between them heavy with memories and unspoken words. She offered him tea, and he nodded, hands wrapped around the warm mug. Silence settled, not uncomfortable, but charged with anticipation. "Where have you been all these years?" she finally asked, her voice steady, though her heart hammered. He hesitated. I had to figure things out. I thought I was ready once, but life pulled me in directions I couldn't control." She nodded slowly, remembering all the nights she had lain awake, wondering if he was safe. "And now I'm here," he said simply, but the depth behind those words said more than she could comprehend. "I've made mistakes. I've hurt people, including you." Eleanor shook her head. "We all make mistakes. You survived, and that counts more than anything." The wind rattled the windows as rain began to tap gently again, bringing back the memories of that fateful night so many years ago. Eleanor looked at him, studying the lines of his face, the weight he carried in his eyes. She saw the boy who had run through storms and the man who had returned seeking redemption. A sudden sound, soft, deliberate, made them both freeze, the creak of the floor above. Eleanor's gaze shot upward. "What was that?" He frowned. I don't know." But there was tension in his posture, a caution he hadn't had as a child. Something about the house, about the night, felt different. She led him to the sitting room where the fire crackled softly. "It's an old house," she said. "Old houses make sounds. Don't let it scare you." Yet both of them felt it, a presence, almost tangible, moving quietly in the shadows. Eleanor's instincts, honed over years of solitude, screamed that tonight was not just another reunion. Something awaited them, something that would unravel the past they thought had been settled. The clock struck midnight. The room seemed to grow colder, shadows stretching unnaturally along the walls. Eleanor reached for the lamp, but the light flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. From the hallway came the sound again, this time closer. A soft shuffle, deliberate, footsteps, not hurried but purposeful. Eleanor's heart thumped loudly in her chest. She glanced at him, and for the first time in years, she saw fear mirrored in his eyes. "Stay close," she whispered. He nodded, instinctively moving beside her. The past was no longer a memory, it was a presence, alive and waiting. A door creaked open upstairs. A shadow moved just beyond the top of the staircase. Neither of them spoke, but they could feel it. Someone or something was in the house. The boy she had sheltered and the man he had become now faced a mystery that threatened to unravel everything they thought they knew. Elinor's hand found his again, gripping tightly, a silent promise that whatever came, they would face it together. And then a soft voice, barely a whisper, cut through the darkness. "Finally, you're home." Elinor froze. He froze. And in that moment, the years apart, the mistakes, the lost time, all of it, mattered less than the chilling realization that the night had only just begun. The clock ticked slowly in the darkened room, its sound almost deafening against the silence that had settled over the house. Elinor's grip on his hand tightened as the mysterious voice faded, leaving an eerie emptiness behind. Who said that?" the man asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elinor shook her head, her eyes scanning every shadow, every corner of the room. "I don't know. This house, it has secrets," she murmured. Memories of creaking floors, sudden cold drafts, and unexplained sounds came rushing back. A sudden gust of wind blew through the slightly open window, rustling the curtains like ghostly fingers. The fire flickered, casting shadows that danced along the walls. Elinor felt a chill run down her spine. She motioned for him to follow her toward the hallway. As they stepped cautiously, the wooden floor groaned beneath their feet. The hallway, lined with old photographs and fading wallpaper, seemed longer than she remembered. Each picture they passed captured moments from the past, smiles frozen in time, eyes that seemed to follow them, memories that were both comforting and unsettling. The footsteps they had heard upstairs echoed again, slow and deliberate, making them both freeze mid-step. Elinor whispered, "Stay close. Don't make a sound." They reached the staircase, peering up into the darkness. The shadows shifted as if someone or something was moving just beyond their sight. He squinted, trying to see through the dim light. "It's someone familiar," he muttered, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. A soft creak above, then silence. Elinor's mind raced. Could it be someone from the past? Someone who had known the boy she had once protected? Or could it be something else entirely? "Mom," he said, gripping her arm. "Do you think it's dangerous?" She hesitated, feeling the weight of years and intuition combined. "I don't know yet, but we'll find out." With that, they began their ascent, each step deliberate, careful not to alert the unseen presence. The hallway at the top was narrow, lined with more photographs and old furniture covered in white sheets that gave them an almost spectral appearance. Every object seemed alive in the dim light, every shadow a potential threat. Then a soft whisper, almost a sigh, floated down the hallway. Elinor stopped in her tracks, straining to hear. "It's calling someone," she whispered. He frowned. "Calling who?" Before she could answer, a door at the end of the hallway creaked open slowly. A pale light spilled into the corridor, and they could just make out a figure standing there. Tall, cloaked in shadows, but with a presence that seemed familiar. "Mom," he whispered, recognition and fear mixed in his voice. Elinor stepped forward, trying to steady her nerves. "Who are you?" she demanded. The figure didn't respond immediately. Then, in a voice soft yet chilling, it said, "I've been waiting." The words hung in the air, heavy and oppressive. Elinor felt a shiver run down her spine. Something about the tone was wrong, deliberate, patient, like someone who had planned this moment for years. He stepped closer to her, protective. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice firmer now. "I want to show you the truth," the shadow replied. The truth about the night you left, about the boy you sheltered, and about the choices that changed everything. Elinar's mind raced. Could this be someone connected to the boy's past? Someone who had been hidden, lurking in silence all these years? Or was it a deeper mystery, something she couldn't yet comprehend? The figure moved slightly, revealing a glimpse of a face, familiar, yet altered by time and experience. Elinar gasped. It can't be. He whispered her name, a voice she had not heard in decades. Elinar. Her heart pounded. Recognition flared, memories flooding back. It was someone from her past, someone she had thought lost forever. The realization brought both relief and dread. This was no random visitor. This was someone who had a story, a purpose, tied intimately to the boy she had protected and to the man who now stood beside her. The shadow took another step forward, and the light revealed more, a glimmer of familiarity in the eyes, a face carved by regret and experience. Elinar's mind reeled, trying to connect the dots. The letters, the absence, the mystery, it was all here in front of her. "Why now?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why come back after all these years?" "Because the past never truly stays buried," the figure replied, stepping fully into the light. "And you have a choice to make. The choice you avoided decades ago, the choice that changed everything. It's time to face it." He, her adopted son, the boy who had grown into a man, stepped closer to her, eyes wide with anticipation and fear. "Mom, what does he mean?" Elinar looked from him to the figure before her, the weight of decades pressing down on her. She realized then that the story of that rainy night was far from over. The boy she had once saved, the man standing beside her, and this mysterious figure were all threads in a tapestry she could no longer control. And somewhere deep inside, she knew, the night had only just begun. The night deepened, wrapping the old house in a blanket of darkness. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it a chill that seemed to seep into the walls. Inside, Elinar, her son, and the mysterious figure stood in the hallway, the tension almost tangible. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the old house made Elinar's heart skip a beat. The figure finally spoke, voice low and deliberate. "You think you know the story, Elinar, but you only know what was allowed to reach you. There are pieces missing, pieces that I was meant to protect." Her son frowned, stepping closer to her. "Mom, who is he? What is he talking about?" Elinar shook her head, unsure herself. She could feel the years pressing down, the burden of secrets she had never known. I don't know," she admitted. The figure's eyes softened slightly, yet they still carried an unrelenting weight. "I am the one who kept watch after that night. The night your son was left alone in the storm, the night everything changed." Elinar's breath caught. Her mind raced, recalling the memories of that fateful evening, the rain, the fear, the decision she had made. But how could this stranger know so much? And why now, after all these years? "Why come back now?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why reveal this after decades?" "Because the truth cannot be buried forever," he replied. "And because he, the boy you saved, needs to know who he truly is." Her son's eyes widened. Who am I?" he asked, uncertainty and fear mingling in his voice. The figure turned, pointing to a portrait on the wall. It was a photograph Elinar had never noticed before, an image of a man standing in the same hallway decades ago, his expression somber, almost sorrowful. Elinar's heart skipped a beat. "That man," the figure said, "was your son's father's closest friend, and he holds the key to the events that night, the choices, the mistakes, everything." Elinar felt a chill. Memories of whispers in the dark, of shadows moving just beyond her sight, of sounds she had dismissed as the wind, they all came rushing back. She had always wondered, always feared that something had been left unresolved. Now the truth was finally at her doorstep. Her son stepped forward, determination replacing fear. "Tell me," he demanded. "Tell me everything. I need to know why I was abandoned, why my life was shaped by secrets." The figure nodded slowly. "You were never meant to be alone." That night, there were forces at work, decisions made by people who believed they were protecting you, but instead, they left you vulnerable. And I tried to make sure you survived, even when they turned away. Elinor placed a hand on his shoulder. He kept watch over you all these years." "Yes," the figure replied. "I have been the silent guardian, the one unseen, waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth. And now that moment has come." Her son's mind whirled. The anger, the confusion, the relief, it all collided within him. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" he asked, voice rising. "Why was I left in the dark?" "Because the truth was dangerous," the figure said. "Because revealing it too soon could have destroyed everything. You were protected, even in ignorance." Elinor's eyes filled with tears. She had never imagined that the past held such depth, such hidden layers. The choices she had made, the life she had led, everything was now connected to a story she had only partially understood. The figure stepped closer to her son. "You have questions, you deserve answers, but you must be ready to face the consequences of what you learn." Her son nodded, resolve firming in his eyes. "I am ready," he said. "I've waited too long to live in shadows. It's time to know the truth." The figure gestured to a small, dust-covered chest in the corner of the hallway. "Inside, you will find letters, photographs, documents, all the pieces of the puzzle. Each one will reveal a part of your past that has been hidden. Each one will show why the night you were abandoned was more complicated than you imagined." Elinor's son approached the chest cautiously, opening it slowly. Inside were envelopes yellowed with age, photographs faded by time, and a small, leather-bound journal. He picked up the journal, running his fingers over the worn cover. This is his handwriting," he whispered, eyes wide. "Yes," the figure said. "Every word, every note, every warning, it was meant for you, to guide you, to protect you, to prepare you for the day you would understand." Elinor watched silently as her son began reading. The words transported him back in time, unraveling a story of love, sacrifice, and secrets that had shaped generations. Each page revealed new revelations, betrayals, hidden alliances, and acts of courage that no one had known about. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The house seemed alive, listening to the unfolding of a story long buried. Elinor felt a sense of closure creeping over her, mingled with the anticipation of the truths yet to be uncovered. Finally, he looked up from the journal, eyes glistening with a mixture of sorrow and understanding. "Mom, I know now," he said softly. "I understand why things happened. I understand who protected me, who guided me, and why I was left to face the night alone." The mysterious figure nodded. "And now you have the choice to forgive, to move forward, to reclaim the life that was always meant for you." Elinor embraced her son, tears streaming down her face. "We've come so far, but the journey isn't over," she whispered. "No," he replied, "but at least now we walk it together, with the truth finally in our hands." And in that moment, the house seemed to sigh, as if relieved that the long-hidden secrets were finally beginning to see the light. The night still held its shadows, its whispers, its memories, but Elinor and her son knew that the story of that fateful night was no longer a mystery. It was a story of resilience, of endurance, and of the unbreakable bond between mother and child. The following morning, sunlight spilled through the dusty windows, illuminating the chest of secrets that had changed everything overnight. Elinor's son sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, journal in hand, flipping through the pages with a mix of awe and disbelief. Each entry was a puzzle piece, every note a key to understanding the events that had shaped his childhood. Eleanor quietly entered the room, carrying a tray with tea, the steam curling up in soft swirls. "You've barely slept," she observed gently. "You need to eat at least a little." He looked up, eyes dark with thought. "I can't stop now, Mom. Every word, every page, it's unraveling things I never even suspected." She set the tray down beside him and sat. "The truth can be heavy," she said softly, "but it's better to face it than to live in shadows." A sudden knock at the door startled them both. Eleanor's heart leapt, remembering the previous night's visitor. Her son rose cautiously. Who could that be? He wondered aloud. The door creaked open to reveal a man in his late 40s, neatly dressed, with eyes that seemed to hold both urgency and sorrow. "May I come in?" he asked politely. Eleanor's son froze. Something about the man felt familiar. Who are you?" he asked. The man's lips tightened into a thin line. "I'm someone who owes you answers," he said quietly. "And perhaps I owe your mother an apology too." Eleanor's son motioned for him to enter. The man stepped inside, closing the door behind him, his presence commanding yet subdued. "I've kept a distance for far too long," he began, "but it's time the truth was told in full. There were choices made, decisions that affected you deeply, and for which I am responsible." Eleanor's son gripped the journal tighter, sensing that the revelations of the morning were just the beginning. "Why now? Why after all these years?" the man sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Because you've grown into the person I always hoped you would become, and because the past, it can't remain buried forever." He paused, then pulled a small envelope from his coat pocket. "This was written for you. I had meant to deliver it that night, but fate intervened." Her son took the envelope with trembling hands, sliding the seal open. Inside were letters and photographs, meticulously arranged, detailing hidden connections, unspoken promises, and actions that had shaped lives behind the scenes. Eleanor watched as her son's face shifted from confusion to recognition, as memories long suppressed resurfaced. He looked up at the man. You were there? You knew all along?" "I did," the man admitted. "I tried to intervene quietly, but circumstances and the choices of others left you in the storm alone. I can't undo what happened, but I can help you understand it." Her son's voice wavered. "All these years, I blamed myself, thinking I was abandoned, thinking I was unworthy. But now I see it wasn't my fault." The man nodded. "No, it was. The night was filled with fear, with confusion, with mistakes made in the name of protection. But you survived, stronger than any of us anticipated." Eleanor finally spoke, voice soft but steady. "We need to know everything. No more secrets, no more half-truths. For years, the unknown has haunted us." The man nodded gravely. "Then listen carefully. That night, the storm, it wasn't random. Decisions were made by people in positions of trust. They believed they were acting to shield you, to protect the family name, but they underestimated the consequences. And in doing so, they left you vulnerable." Her son's fists clenched, a mix of anger and sorrow bubbling up. "Why didn't anyone trust me with the truth? I deserve to know." "You did," the man said softly. "But fear blinded them. Fear of scandal, fear of chaos, fear of the unknown. They thought shielding you was the kindest act. They were wrong." He walked to the window, looking out as the wind stirred the trees outside. "I was sent to keep watch, to ensure no harm came to you. Every time danger lurked, I intervened silently. But the human heart is complicated, loyalty, love, fear, all tangled in ways that can't be unraveled easily." Eleanor's son absorbed the words, each revelation striking him with the weight of decades. "So, every choice, every act of abandonment, it was all part of a plan to protect me?" The man's eyes softened. "A plan, yes, but one imperfectly executed, and one that left scars, scars you carry to this day. Tears filled Alina's eyes. She reached out, taking her son's hand in hers. "We're finally confronting it," she whispered. "All of it. The mistakes, the secrets, the past we couldn't touch before." Her son looked at the man, determination hardening his gaze. "I want the full story. Every name, every action, every hidden truth. I want to understand completely so that the next steps, they're mine to choose." The man nodded. "Then you shall. But understand this. The path forward requires courage. Understanding the past is only the beginning. Forgiveness, reconciliation, and confronting those who still hold power in the shadows, that is the real journey." Hours passed, the afternoon sun slipping lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the wooden floors. Alina's son read, questioned, and absorbed the intricate tapestry of history that had been hidden from him. Every letter, every photograph revealed layers of loyalty, betrayal, love, and regret. Finally, as dusk fell, he closed the journal and looked at his mother. "I see it all now," he said. "I understand. The night, the storm, it was never truly my fault. And the people who made choices, they were human, flawed, trying to do what they thought was right." Alina pulled him into a tight embrace. "We survived," she whispered, "and now we can finally choose our path together." The man, watching them, finally allowed a small smile. "The truth is heavy, yes, but it is also freeing. You now have the knowledge to live without fear, without the shadows of the past clouding your decisions." Her son nodded slowly, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. The journey of discovery was far from over, but for the first time, the future felt within reach. The secrets of the night, the storm, and the years of hidden guidance were no longer chains. They were a foundation, strong and unshakable, upon which they could build the next chapter of their lives. And as the sky darkened, Alina, her son, and the man who had silently guarded them all knew that the story was far from over. There were confrontations ahead, choices to be made, and a reckoning that would demand courage. But for now, they had the truth, and that was enough to begin. Night had fallen over the valley, wrapping the house in shadows that whispered of secrets and memories long buried. Alina's son sat by the window, journal closed, his mind racing with all that he had learned that day. The storm of revelations had passed, but now a different kind of storm was gathering, one that would demand courage, confrontation, and choices he could no longer avoid. "Mom," he said softly, I think it's time. Time to face them, to confront the people who let the past control our lives." Alina looked at him, a mixture of worry and pride in her eyes. "I've feared this moment for decades," she admitted, "but I know you are ready, and we will face it together." The man who had delivered the letters, the silent guardian, nodded. "I will be there. You will not face the shadows alone. But remember, this is more than just confrontation. It is about truth, accountability, and finding closure." The plan was simple, yet daring. They would confront those who had orchestrated the events of the stormy night, reveal the lies, and demand acknowledgement for the pain caused. Each step would require careful thought. One misstep could undo years of preparation. As they moved through the quiet streets under the pale moonlight, Alina's son's heart pounded. Faces from the past appeared in his mind, each associated with betrayal, secrecy, or unspoken guilt. He clenched his fists, drawing strength from the truth he now carried, the truth that could no longer be hidden. Their first stop was the old estate of the man who had first intervened in the night of chaos, the architect of the misguided protection. He was an imposing figure, stern and proud, with a reputation for unyielding authority. Yet when Alina's son entered, accompanied by his mother and the silent guardian, the man's eyes betrayed surprise and unease. "You've come," he said, his voice steady but tense. "After all these years." "Yes," Eleanor's son replied, voice firm. "After all these years, it's time to face what happened that night. It's time to speak the truth." The man looked down, a mixture of guilt and regret crossing his face. I did what I thought was right. I never meant to harm anyone. The storm, it was chaotic. Decisions were made in fear, in haste, but those decisions left scars," Eleanor's son interrupted. "Scars that shaped my childhood, that haunted my mother, and that could have destroyed us. You may have thought you were protecting us, but you chose secrecy over honesty." The old man nodded slowly. "You are right," he admitted. "And for that, I am sorry. I cannot undo the past, but I can acknowledge it." The confrontation, though tense, became a turning point. Each person involved in the long-hidden events came forward one by one, their explanations mixed with apologies, regrets, and confessions. Eleanor's son listened carefully, absorbing the stories, piecing together the full picture that had eluded him for decades. By midnight, the weight of confrontation had transformed into a sense of closure. The truth, once buried under fear and secrecy, now stood in the open. Eleanor's son finally spoke, his voice calm but resolute. "We cannot change the past, but we can decide how it shapes our future. We forgive not because what happened was right, but because we choose to reclaim our lives." Tears streamed down Eleanor's cheeks as she embraced her son. "You've grown beyond fear," she whispered. "Beyond anger, I am proud of you." The silent guardian who had watched from the shadows finally allowed a smile. "The reckoning is complete. The past has been faced, the secrets laid bare. And now you can move forward." As dawn approached, the first light spilling over the valley, Eleanor, her son, and the man who had protected them all walked together. The night's confrontations had not erased the pain, but it had transformed it into strength. The storm of their past had passed, leaving clarity, courage, and hope in its wake. Her son looked at the horizon, feeling a sense of freedom he had never known. "Mom," he said softly, "we survived the storm, and now we can finally live without its shadow." Eleanor nodded, her hand resting on his shoulder. "Yes, my child, and no matter what comes next, we face it together." The silent guardian placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity. "Your journey is just beginning. The past taught you lessons, the reckoning strengthened you, and the future is yours to shape." The three of them paused, gazing out over the valley bathed in early morning light. The house that had held secrets, the storm that had caused turmoil, and the shadows that had loomed for decades were now behind them. What lay ahead was uncertain, yes, but it was theirs to embrace. Eleanor whispered, almost to herself, "Life does not end with storms, it begins after them." Her son smiled, feeling a weight lifted, and for the first time in years, hope truly felt like home. And with that, the story of abandonment, revelation, and reconciliation reached its conclusion, transforming pain into wisdom, secrets into truth, and fear into courage. The past, though once a chain, had become a foundation for the life they now chose to live, together, unafraid and free.